Hello and welcome to this tutorial for users of Microsoft Excel 2016 for the Mac. In this tutorial we're looking at the nested if function, and in the previous tutorial we saw how you create the basic if function, and this example we had where there was a problem with our final calculation where in the cases where we have equal prices the best price shows as one supplier when it shouldn't really show either supplier as the best price. So what we're going to do first of all is look at how we apply the nested if function to solve this problem. So the first thing I'll do is delete out these three existing functions, and let's click into the cell there, D4, and create our new function. A nested if function can basically be described as multiple if functions within a single formula. So it makes more sense if I actually create it and you can see the structure as I go through. So as with an if function, we simply type equals if to begin and open bracket or parentheses. So we have our logical test first of all, and the difference here is that I'm going to first test to see if the two values are equal. So if I click on the first value, press equals on the keyboard and then click on the second value. So there's my first logical test. Type a comma again to separate the different parts of the function, and next I want to have a piece of text appearing if that test is true, and that's going to be the word tie, indicating that both prices are the same. Now if I type a comma again to continue on to the next part of the function, the final part of a standard if function is what you'd like to have happen if the test is false. Now here what I'd like to have happen is another if function, and so this is where the nested if function comes in. So I'm going to type the word if again. So I'm creating a second if function, and this second if function is the one that will test to see which supplier has the highest price. So if I click on again cell B4 there, type the greater than symbol, and then click on C4, type a comma again. If that's true, then ABC Holidays has the best price. And remember I need to set that as an absolute reference. Type a comma again, and finally if the result of the test is false, then Fred has the best price. Set that one again as an absolute reference, and to complete the function I need to add the closing parentheses, and I simply need to match the number of opening parentheses here. So if I go back to the beginning, you'll see I have an open parentheses for the first if function, another open parentheses for the second if function. So I need to end my nested if function with two closing brackets or parentheses. And now if I press the enter key, you'll see we have Fred's Adventure Holidays as the best price at the moment, which it is. But what if ABC Holidays decides to match that price? And if we put 19.99 in there, press the enter key, we get the word tie appear. And if Fred's price goes up to say 24.99, ABC Holidays becomes the best value. So let's copy that function down there to see the results of our other tests. So there we're getting three different outcomes now, and that's the benefit of a nested if function, in that you can ask multiple questions or apply multiple logical tests, and then you have a wider range of options to enter into the cell as a result of those tests. So let's go on and apply the nested if function to another example then. Here's a table that you'll be familiar with if you saw my date and time tutorial. So it's the movie screening table, and I've got a couple of columns that are blank and I need to complete with if functions. The first one is the status column, and if you look further down the spreadsheet below the table, you'll see a small table there that says status options, and they are sold out, last few seats, and tickets available. And so I would like to have one of those messages appear in the appropriate cell depending on the number of tickets that have been sold. And as I have more than two possible outcomes, I'll need to use a nested if function. I'll click into cell F7 and begin the function then. First of all, equals if on the keyboard, open parentheses, and my first logical test or question is to see if the number of tickets matches the capacity. In other words, is the venue sold out? And to do that, I'm simply going to click on the capacity. I'll make that an absolute reference, by the way. So if I copy the formula down, the B4 reference doesn't change. And then type equals on the keyboard, and then click on the number of tickets sold in cell C7. So is the value in C7 equal to the value in B4? If it is, then I'm going to have the word sold out appear, and all I need to do is click on the cell containing the word sold out. I don't need to use quotation marks because I'm referencing the content of another cell. So type comma again to separate the different parts of the function, as you know, And now I want to apply a second logical test, so I'll need to create a second if function. So type the word if again, open parentheses. My second test will be to see if sales are above 125. So I'm going to click again on the tickets sold cell, and this time use greater than 125. So there's my second question, is C7 greater than 125? And type a comma again, and now if that's true, I'm going to have the words last few seats appear, so I click on the cell containing that text. Again type a comma, and if neither of the previous logical tests is true, I'm going to have the final text entry tickets available appear, so I simply click on that cell, F18, and again I need to apply the closing parentheses. There are two open parentheses, so I need to apply two closing parentheses. And before I press the enter key, I'm going to fix the formula and make the cells F16, F17 and F18 absolute references. And to do that, I'm simply going to click on each reference and on the keyboard press the F4 key. That applies the dollar signs, as you can see. You can also, as I said before, type those dollar signs in manually. And I'll do the same thing for F17 and F18. So they're all absolute references. And now that's all been done, I can just press the enter key to enter the function, and I'll go back and click on that. And so we see the result of the function on the spreadsheet, and of course if you need to refer to the details of the function, you can go back to the formula bar and you'll find all the information you need there if you need to make any changes. At the moment we have tickets available showing, which is correct because neither of the first two logical tests are true. So let's increase the tickets sold to 128, press the enter key. And now we get last few seats showing, which again is working correctly. And finally, let's sell out the venue, move that value to 150, press the enter key, and we get sold out appearing. So the function is working correctly. Now, if I go back to that function, and if I just press the F2 key on the keyboard and open up the function for editing, if you take a look at the function, there are two things that are true in this particular case. B4 is equal to C7, so that means it's sold out. But the second test as well, C7 is also greater than 125. So there are two logical tests there that are true. And how does Excel decide which one is the one to pick on? And the answer is that Excel simply goes through each logical test systematically from beginning to end. And as soon as it finds a logical test that is true, the function is ended. So in this case, it tests is B4 equal to C7. That's true, so at that moment it simply puts the value F16 into the cell and ends the function. It never actually gets to test the second part, is C7 greater than 125, and it never gets to the final part of the function either, of course. And it's important to understand that the order that you place these logical tests in can affect whether the function works or not. What I'm going to do is recreate this function and show you how things can go wrong. So let's come to the next cell down then. So I'm going to type equals again, if open brackets, and this time I'm going to reverse the logical test. So I'm going to check to see if the sales are above 125 first. So let's see if cell C8 in this case is greater than 125, and if it is, we're going to have last few seats showing. Type a comma again, and again we begin our second if function, and the second test of course is C8 in this case equal to the capacity of the venue, and remember we must set that as an absolute reference. Type a comma again, and if that's true we're going to have sold out appear, and type a comma again, and finally if that's not true we'll have tickets available as the last option. Again I'll just go through and just set those as absolute references to be correct, like so. Again, just end the function with two closed parentheses. Again, it has to match the number of open parentheses. Press the enter key, and you'll see, if you look closely, that we have a problem now. The result is last few seats, but if you look into cell C8, it's 150. The venue capacity is 150, so we're actually sold out. So what we have there is the wrong outcome. If I change the number of tickets sold to 130, of course that still works. And if I drop it down to 25, the tickets available notice appears, which is also correct. So the only error really is when we're sold out, the spreadsheet is not telling us that the venue is sold out, which is quite a serious problem because somebody could continue selling tickets when there's no seats available. And again, if I come back and click on that function, open the editing up and let's take a look at where the problem is. As I said before, Excel will stop the function when it finds something that is correct. The first question is C8 greater than 125? Well, it's irrelevant whether it's 126 or 150. Both those values are above 125, so Excel says yes, C8 is above 125. What shall I put in there? Well, it puts in the content in F17, which is the last few seats message, and then the function is ended. It never goes on to check the sold out part of the function. So keep this in mind when you're testing numerical values using greater than. You can also do it in reverse using less than. My personal preference for using nested if functions with numerical values is to test for high values first and then systematically work down to the lower values. So now we know this doesn't work. I'm going to just cancel that, press delete, click on F7 and just copy that function down to the remaining cells. Make sure I get the black cross there at the bottom right, click and drag down. Next I'm going to create the function to work out venue cost, and if you look at the table we have down here below the main table, we have this venue cost table, and we get discounts based on the number of tickets we sell. So if we sell 49 or fewer, we pay the full price, but if we sell out, the higher fee is reduced to £295 in this case. So let's go back and click in that cell, G7, and we'll create the function. So it's equals if, open parentheses, and the first question simply is, have we sold out the venue? Do we get the best discount? So let's test that first. Click on ticket sold and see if that is equal to the venue capacity. Again, I'll set that as an absolute reference. Type a comma, and if that's true, then the price is the lowest price. So I'll click on the 295 value in the cost table. Type a comma, and if we're not sold out, then we need to check for the lower value. So I'll start a new if function now. So if, open parentheses, again click on C7, and of course I always click on C7 because that's where my ticket sold value is. And if we look at our next discount range, well, it's 100 to 149 tickets. So to check this, I'm going to say, is it greater than 99? Type a comma, and so anything sold above 99 tickets qualifies as for the £325 price. Type a comma again, and now I need to type another if because I'm creating another test. And again, check on that C7 value, and this time I want to see if it's greater than 74. As you can see, our next level of discount is 75 to 99, so if it's above 74, then if I type a comma again, we qualify for the 375 price. Type a comma again, and if nothing so far applies, then we need to apply another logical test. So if again, open parentheses, again click on C7, and this time I'm checking, is C7 greater than 49? Type a comma, click on the next fee that we qualify for, type a comma again, and if none of those previous tests apply, the only thing remaining is the £500 value, so I'll click on that as the last thing. And finally I'll go back and fix all those cell references from C17 down to C21 and make them absolute. So I'll just start with C21 and work across like so, C19, C18, and C17 has disappeared off the edge there. Well, what I'll do is I'll go up to the formula bar, click on C17 in the formula bar, press the F4 key, click at the end of the formula, and now we need to close the parentheses. So remember, for every open parentheses we need to match it with a close, and the quickest way to do that is simply count up the number of ifs you have. And here I have 4 ifs, so I need to type 4 closing parentheses. 1, 2, 3, 4, press the enter key. And so there's the result. The venue cost for the first film is $295, which is correct because it's sold out. Let's copy that function down to the remaining cells and let's see how everything applies. So there we go. And you can see that any movie that's sold out qualifies for the full discount, and the other films, one is $325, one is $375. And if we change any of these values, so let's take Singing in the Rain, for example, at the moment 85 tickets sold. And you can see on the table that if it sells 100 seats, then it'll qualify for the next discount level. So let's change that to 100, press the enter key, and the venue cost drops to $325. Hopefully you've seen some useful things there with if functions and nested if functions to apply some automation to the spreadsheets that you're working on. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.